It's 3 p.m. The vicar of Salford, and I'd like to welcome you on this Monday of Holy Week to our first daily reflection. Over the next few days leading up to Good Friday, St Luke's are going to bring you 5 short talks. And this is what we're going to do. We're having a reading each day, and then a short talk about 3 minutes long, which takes us through the events of Holy Week. And this will take us up to Maundy Thursday. We're going to do something at 5 o'clock on Maundy Thursday night for the whole family. And then we'll have 2 worship services on Good Friday at 10:30 and at 2:30. So please join us for them. And then Easter, Sunday morning, I will be up in the cemetery at the top of Beeston Hill filming the sunrise and doing some readings and prayers. So think of me on my own in the cemetery on Sunday morning. We continue the worship at 10:30 with a general podcast that we're going to do at 10:30. So what about today? Well, today we're going to read a passage. There's a similar passage in Mark's Gospel, and it says in Mark's Gospel this: whenever the Gospel is preached throughout the world, what has been told in this story will be told in memory. So let's hear the story, this time from the Gospel of John. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here a dinner was given in Jesus' honour. Martha served, while Lazarus was among those reclining at table with him. Then Mary took a pint of pure nard, a very expensive perfume, and she poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But one of the disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. "Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It's worth a year's wages." He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As a keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to it and put it into his own pocket. "Leave her alone," Jesus replied. "It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me." Meanwhile, a large crowd of Jews found out that Jesus was there and came, not only because of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom they had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to kill Lazarus as well. But on account of him, many of the Jews were going over to Jesus and believing in him. Of all the scenes in the Gospel stories, this has got to be one of the most awkward. It's a very strange passage. It's Passover week, Jesus is in Bethany, and a meal has been given in Jesus' honour. And why wouldn't you have a meal? Why wouldn't you have a celebration? It's been hosted by the family of Lazarus, whom Jesus has raised from the dead. And all is going well. People are packed in. People want to see Jesus. They want to celebrate. They want to see Lazarus, this guy who dies. And then, all of a sudden, Mary takes a jar of very super expensive perfume. And to the shock of all of the party, and this gets very, very strange now, she pours this expensive perfume on Jesus' feet. And it gets even stranger because she wipes his feet with her hair. And this is so awkward. You can imagine the conversation drops in the room. Everyone starts looking. What's going on over there? People are shocked. In fact, the conversation goes quiet. Somebody drops a pot in the kitchen. People start to shuffle nervously, and all eyes are on this extraordinary scene. What in the world is going on? Well, you can imagine the reaction of the disciples. Is Jesus really letting this happen? I know Mary's a friend, but isn't this kind of a little bit inappropriate? I mean, he's a respected Jewish leader. Why is he even letting this happen? She's putting oil on his feet. She's wiping his feet with her hair. What's going on? You can imagine Martha, Mary's sister, her jaws dropped to the floor, watching from the kitchen door. What's Mary doing now? That's so demeaning. She's touching his feet in public. She's wiping his feet with her beautiful hair. Has she lost it? Is she completely bonkers? We also hear in the passage from that role model of moral virtue, Judas Iscariot. Yes, what's he going to say? Why wasn't this perfume sold, he said, and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. You can imagine everyone sitting round, everyone's thinking out loud. What is going on here? This is so awkward. Jesus speaks. Leave her alone. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. What is going on here? Well, the first thing we've got to realise in Holy Week is that dark forces are at work. Jesus is on the road to the cross. We hear in this passage that the leaders at the time wanted Jesus killed, not only Jesus, but Lazarus as well. And yet we hear from this passage, whenever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will be told in memory of her. So what does this teach you and me about our lives and following Jesus? Well, I want to say this afternoon. Our lives are really busy. Even in lock-in, because of the COVID crisis at the moment, we're still frantically trying to do things to do. I'm sure, well, I am, maybe you are, I don't know. But our lives are full of challenges, full of worries, full of complications. What is really important in life? And we've got our dreams, we've got our plans, the significant things we want to do in our lives. We want to achieve, we want to do something significant in our lives. We want our lives to have a purpose. But what is the purpose of our lives? Many hundreds of years ago, in 1647, somebody wrote this: the main calling of a human being is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. We're actually not human doings, but human beings. We're actually created to enjoy God. And through experiencing his love, we learn to love other people as well. A man, an early church father called St. Augustine, said this: to fall in love with God is the greatest romance, to seek him the greatest adventure, to find him the greatest human achievement. Mary was the first person in the room to realise that, and she worshipped Jesus. Jesus calls us to worship him, spend time with him, realise the amazing God of love that he is, to receive from him, to be open with him just as we are. There is nobody who will accept us more than God will. We can be completely honest, knowing that he's going to love us. So, this Holy Week, God calls us to friendship, to relationship, to love him, to have that intimate time of prayer. More than anything money can buy. Certainly more than a jar full of clay perfume. Amen.